Outside the Lines, episode 3. We here. Washington Square Park, New York, New York. You know the vibes?
2 episodes in, episode 3. Where's God's favorite artist right now here in episode 3?
Episode 3, honestly speaking, I am a little tapped out, a little bit exhausted. I have a headache, but for me, it's all about sticking to the discipline. And with sticking to the discipline, let's see what happens. So this episode is about powering through. And that's been me the entire day. Like working in the studio, working at home, doing an install. It's all a part of it.
Powering through is kind of like a theme that you need to have when you're creating, whether it be in business or in art. Can you tell me of a time or an experience in your life where you had to really push outside of your boundaries and really get outside your comfort zone?
Oh man, quite a few times. I mean, it happens a lot during preparing for an exhibition. It happens a lot even just on a normal day, like a day like today, where still in prep for an exhibition, but not the exhibition being at a date where I have to work around the clock, but because of what's happening in my family life and my studio life and just everyday things that happen in life, there's so many variables and things that are happening all at once. And I have to be there to make it happen. So to power through having a headache, I mean, yeah, you could take some Advil, ibuprofen, and continue working, or you can not get overwhelmed by everything that's happening. Focus on the one thing, get that done. Focus on the next thing, get that done, and then from there, everything kind of works out because you're not looking at the entire pie. You're just looking at one slice.
Now, you've done some rather large pieces, murals, especially that big piece at Time Out Market where that took weeks and months on end, as well as works for people that were smaller that took weeks and months on end. When you're halfway through a project and it seems like you really are just pushing to get through, what kind of mindset or energy do you use to get to the end of the project?
The mindset I use to get through the project is mainly it's similar to being in my studio, even though it could be out in the public. You start a piece, you love it. As you're working through the piece, you're not in love with it. You start to liking it. And then you power through that phase, and then you start to fall back in love with it. And then you get to the last 10%, and you're like, I really love what I do because now this is the vision that I had from the beginning. So that's all a part of the process and how it works as an artist or as a creative period. Like you start with this idea. The idea is a brilliant idea. You put that idea on a paper, on a canvas. That vision is now taking life. You look at it, you make some edits, you make it better. You go to a wall, you start to doing it. And you just keep working until you're happy with it.
Well, can you tell me a little bit about the piece you're putting together today? It seems to be a little bit different than the normal stuff that we worked on before.
Oh yeah, this is different. Today I found myself listening to a Virgil Abloh lecture. And one thing that stuck out to me in his lecture, it was actually nothing he said in the lecture, but more so me looking at Virgil as a person who had created this brand around himself, and this brand around himself was a complete lifestyle brand where it was fashion, it was music, it was the sneakers, it was the things that he did, the art that he liked, the shows that he would go to, like everything around him was the brand where he can show up to something and deliver a completely different perspective that opens up the eyes of people who are older than him and tap into the people who are younger than him. And he was like this liaison between two different worlds or the many different worlds that he was a part of. So just from that lecture, I picked that up and was like, wow, that's something that bigger companies actually have, like a Nike or Apple. Like, although they sell products, that product is attached to a thing, and that's the reason also why people buy the thing.
So one of the things that you talk about with a lot of his work is just being multifaceted and being able to do multiple things. Do you have any additional talents yourself?
Some people notice about me. A lot of people may not notice about me, but I am highly skilled at cutting hair. So some people know it, some people don't. Um, it's a little bit like I still get to practice my artistry with grooming, whether it be, I don't do it as much as I used to. It's mainly family, friends, myself, and look, I say that now, and I'm unshaved. You would think that I would look groomed all the time, but I don't. But again, today being one of those days where it is what it is. Another thing, oh, how about this? This may be a little controversial. I'm really good at taboo. Ah, who want to see me in taboo? I bet you don't. Causes a lot of arguments within my household. I would call myself a designer, maybe not to the level of what Pharrell is doing with Louis Vuitton, but there are pieces that I've designed that, you know, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I should pat myself on the back. you know, yeah, it's quite a few things. I mean, that's just a couple right there. Um, but to me, it all still art is a magnet, and those things are the things that are pulled right back into my art practice.
If there was anything in the world you could artistically design yourself, what would it be?
I would want to design my version of a 1987 Land Rover Defender. Now, don't go out there looking for that because that's mine. Don't try to take my vehicle away from me. But no, that's one. Another one is a yacht, a jet, like something that like people could see. Oh, look, what did Ice Cube say? The Goodyear blimp. Like, things that are substantial. That's a thing. Even, what would be fly? Zeph Farmby times Mercedes G Wagon. That would be fire. You know? Zeph Farmby times Porsche, the Heritage Collection. And I mean, look, things as simple as making a new jacket. Like, I do, all right, this is something that I do find a lot of joy in doing. I create like really, really ultra cool, rare, the rarest of rare kids' clothing for my kids. So we have all these jackets that are plain jackets. I paint on the jackets to make it into something that's like, yeah, my kids should wear something like this. So yeah, that's another thing. So it's not always big extravagant things. When I was young in my artist career, I would write all these things down on paper that I wanted to happen with my career, like goals that I wanted to reach. And then over the course of a year, I randomly found this notebook and it had all these things written in it. And as I started reading it, I noticed that there were check marks right next to it. Doing a show at a museum, being a part of this show, doing this, like all these things started happening. So my wife and I, we started telling ourselves we have to dream bigger. And dreaming bigger is it's like a family, a thing that we really live by is even with our kids. Like, if you could dream it, you could be it, but let's try to go further than that. There's a saying that Kobe Bryant would practice. Oh man. Kobe Bryant would practice and also play in a game trying to strive for perfection, but he knew that perfection didn't exist. But even in striving for perfection, for something that's unreachable, he knew that other people wouldn't even try half as hard. So he would be better than everyone else because what he's trying to do is reach something that's unreachable. So again, dreaming as big as possible and then dreaming bigger than that.
Tell me about the first piece that you sold or you can remember selling.
Oh man. Oh, you know what? This isn't my very first piece that I sold, but it was early in my stages of selling work. There's a piece that I created for my wife, and it went inside her office at work. And I later pulled the piece from her office, put it in an art show. That was one of the first works that sold. And to this day, my wife talks about that piece being her favorite painting that I ever created. Yeah.
To this day.
Yeah, the piece is titled The Diva Within. I have to try to find a picture of it to show, but it was inspired by Nina Simone, and it's on, I think it's 36 by 36 inches, acrylic and spray paint and oil paint on a wood panel. One of her favorites. She talks about it, man, to this day. Like, it's one of her favorites. Oh, time's up. Outside the Lines, Episode 3, God's favorite artist, Zeph Farmby. I'm signing off.
God's favorite artist, Zeph Farmby, best artist in the world.